It's funny how this villain knows exactly where John Cena is at every point during the 12 rounds, because I thought no one could see John Cena. 12 Rounds, released in 2009 and is directed by Rennie Harlan, who has also directed such films like A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master, Die Hard 2, Cliffhanger, Mindhunters, and The Covenant, which after reading that list explains so much about the production of this movie. And this film is starring, of course, John Cena, Ashley Scott, Steve Harris, Brian J. White, and Aidan Gillen, who is thankfully not doing his impersonation of Christian Bale's Batman voice as he did as Littlefinger in Game of Thrones. You know, remember that? Remember in Season 1 when he's talking pretty normally, and then he was in The Dark Knight Rises, and then I think Season 2 came out, then he started doing this all the time until he ended up where he ended up in Game of Thrones at the end. It worked for Christian Bale, so it'll work for me too. And this movie is presented by WWE Studios, or as Vince McMahon would say, WWE, because he's so old and decrepit, he can't even say the name of his own company anymore. So the company that can't get the creative of all their superstars right decided to make a movie. This should be good. John Cena plays Officer Danny Fisher, and out on patrol one night they come across world-renowned crime lord Miles Jackson. And during the chase, Miles Jackson's girlfriend gets hit by a car and dies. Now Miles vows to take revenge on Danny Fisher whenever he gets out of prison, which happens 1 year later after Miles kidnaps Danny's girlfriend. So now Danny has to play along with the game Miles has set for him that he has called 12 Rounds in order to save his girlfriend's life. And I think the main thing with this movie is that this film was just made 15 years too late. This movie, I think, would have worked great in, the late 80s, definitely in the mid-90s, somewhere in there. But by today's standards, and hell, even in 2009, this storyline has been played out like crazy. And the style of it is very reminiscent to films like Die Hard 2 and A Nightmare on Elm Street 4. That's why I was saying, watching this movie, it feels very much like a Die Hard film. And oh, hey, look, we have a director of a Die Hard film who's directing this movie. Makes sense. And I think the story does work. The conception of it does work. I think it looks good on paper. The style of this movie, though, it's very kinetic and it makes you very motion sick. I like shaky cam. I think it provides a great cinematic element to a story if you're trying to kind of engulf the audience into the world that this film is trying to create. This movie, though, uses shaky cam the entire time. I know the reason why you want this shaky cam is to provide that kinetic energy and to make us feel like, hey, we're going forward the entire time. But you can't do that. We need to have moments where we break, and we relax, and we stop, and we take a breath. Because if we keep going that entire time, we're just going to be exhausted when we get to, like, the 30-minute mark. And sadly, that's exactly what happened to me. I think they do try to interject little tiny breaks and soft moments where John Cena is feeling anger and sadness and worry, or at least some type of emotion like that, some soft type of emotion. Couldn't really get that out of him, though, because he was pretty green when it came to the whole acting thing back in 2009. Gets a call saying, like, oh, he messed up, or gets a call saying, hey, the next round is, you gotta be here, and then he's freaking out talking with the FBI agents. So the naturalistic thing and the cheap thing for him to do is just go, ugh, all the time. It's a reaction, it's an emotion that young actors put forth when they're new to the craft of acting. When they get in this situation, it's natural for a young actor just to kind of go, oh, I'm so angry. Anger is a very easy emotion to go down in vulnerable situations like this. What's fun and what can be intriguing is when you try to look for different emotions or different ways to portray that anger. You don't always have to yell and, be tough and be bulky like you are, John. Sometimes you can internalize those feelings a little bit to where you're not using your arms to tell the audience that, oh, I'm upset and I'm frustrated. I think that's come later on in his career. I think he's done good things since then. Trainwreck, most recently in The Suicide Squad, and he's gonna have his own TV series on HBO Max with The Peacemaker. I think he's improved a lot. You gotta start somewhere, though. And Gillen always plays that swarmy, dickish cocky-ass villain in everything that he is in, and it's basically the same character here, just, again, without the Christian Bale voice. And the movie's called 12 Rounds because he has to go through 12 rounds of tests and obstacles and explosions in order to get to his girlfriend in the end. I feel like there were points in here where we skipped like a couple of rounds to get us to 12. I even remember seeing the trailers back in 2009, and when it said, hey, you gotta do 12 rounds, thinking like 12 rounds is a lot to do, especially when it's consecutive like that. That's probably not going to work. But of course, Miles Jackson is a brilliant gamester, and we get that because everyone is telling us that in the beginning, and we see him go over to a chessboard with two people playing chess, and he's like, oh, well, here's how it's going to play out. See? I know games. That was also on top of all the FBI agents who were following him, talking about his entire rap sheet for everyone, so us, the audience, knows how dangerous this guy can be. It's a classic 80s, 90s action film trope to do. When you're trying to build up a villain, or hell, when you're trying to build up your action hero, and you're listing off their list of accomplishments just in like a brief time period, it's like, who talks like that? And also, I think we would know this if we go on a stakeout. At least I would be. If I'm an FBI agent and I'm gonna go follow a guy, I'm gonna do my research on them before I get into the field. You don't have to tell me what this guy has done. I already know. I'm tailing him. I'm like 5 feet behind him. You don't have to tell me how dangerous he is. I know. Okay? And that also plays into just how dialogue and how story and character development is presented in this film. I mean, how many spoons do you need to spoon feed the audience? When we have those quick little moments of the energy kind of coming down, the characters will kind of take a step back, look at each other, and basically like give an entire Shakespearean monologue about just their troubles and where they're feeling and where they're at in their character arc in that film at that moment. In other words, it's typical WWE writing. And what this team of writers just doesn't get is that you don't need to spell things out for the audience. The audience is not dumb. Stop treating us like we're dumb. You can present us something, and we most likely will figure it out. Like the lead FBI agent, who his character is just a total dick, and he's just being disrespectful to everyone, including John Cena, whose girlfriend was captured, just being a total dick to him, but he has this little toy car that he carries around with him, and we later find out that Jackson murdered this group of people and children, and this little toy car was the only thing that was intact. And it's just this long, drawn-out monologue, and I'm like, okay, that affected you? You don't even know those people. Why did you care? But okay. A lot of these rounds that John Cena goes through, a lot of these obstacles and action scenes are pretty cool. They're nothing special. I mean, they're very 90s-esque. But as I was saying, that camera just keeps on moving. Gets me to the point where I'm like, guys, I know he's on a timetable here, but we need a break. We need to chill out for a little bit. And it all leads to a pretty terrible helicopter climax scene where the girlfriend is flying the helicopter, because she can, like, we knew that. I didn't. And then Cena and Gillen are fighting, and the girlfriend who is flying the helicopter is asking John, like, you okay? What do you need? John, talk to me. And I'm like, lady, he's fighting with a guy. He's pretty much losing. Shut up! The movie is nothing special. It's not terrible. It needed a lot of refinement and a different cinematic take and production style, but it's fine. I'm gonna give 12 Rounds 2 out of 5 Blu-rays. Alright everyone, now comes my favorite part of my videos where I pick which movie I'm going to be watching next. And the next movie is a PayPal recommendation / donation from one of my big contributors on this channel, Autumn Blood. You strike again with your recommendation of The Hitcher. I'm going to assume that this is a horror film because the poster has a guy with a knife for a gun and he's on the side of the road in the middle of the desert, or maybe it's Australia, I don't know. but it looks like a slasher movie. Never seen it before. We're getting close to the beginning of October, which is Halloween month here on the channel, so we try to watch all of the spooky movies that month. So we'll check out The Hitcher next time. If any of you have recommendations of films that you want me to review on here, you can make a PayPal donation on the main page of my YouTube channel. Any size donation will do. Just attach your movie recommendation with your donation, and if I have access to it, I will watch it, review it, give you a shout out on the channel, and get my review of it published as quickly as I possibly can. So guys, have you seen 12 Rounds? What did you think about it? Or if you've never seen it before and you stumbled across because of this video, then comment below, let me know what you thought about it. And as always, if you like what you see here, if you like my take on movies, then hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that bell so you'll know the next time I release my next movie review. So guys, I will see you next time with my review of The Hitcher. So in the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.